Yama. I'm Judi Morison. I'm a descendant of the Gomeroi people of northwest New South Wales. I'm currently Deputy Chair of the South Coast Writers Centre and a member of the Ngana Black Wallaby Writers, and also leader of the emerging Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Writers Mentoring Project. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that I'm speaking today from the country of the Wadi people, unceded sovereign land in the Illawarra, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. I also pay my respects to the elders of the country where my guests are speaking. I'd like to introduce those guests. One of the two pairs who took part in our mentorship program, Tabatha Cann, one of the mentees, and Rowena Lennox, who was Tab's mentor. I'll leave Tab and Rowena to tell you more about themselves, but before that, I'll give a brief outline of how the program worked. So it was run under the umbrella of South Coast Writers Centre's Ngana Indigenous Literary Program with advice on cultural matters from Wadi woman Auntie Barbara Nicholson. The program was open to emerging Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander writers living in the South Coast. LGA is serviced by the South Coast Writers Centre, which is a big area. The program's aim was to enable two emerging writers to work with paid published writer mentors to develop a substantial project of writing over a period of 3 months. The successful mentee and mentor applicants were selected and paired by a committee, and once Tabatha and Rowena and Sharon McDonough and Bambi Ward, who were the other pair, had been introduced to each other, it was up to them to plan the progress. The expectation being that the mentors would have a deadline to submit up to 10,000 words each month, each of those followed by a 1-hour in-depth discussion of the work with their mentor. So let's hear from Tab and Rowena. Can I start with you, Tab? Yes, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and the project you've been working on with Rowena?
Yeah, sure. I'd just like to acknowledge too that I'm a descendant of the Yuin Darawal Nation, and then where I'm talking to you from is on Wadi country also, and acknowledge my elders past and present. And yeah, thanks for having us on here today. So did you ask me the first question?
Just a little about yourself and the project you've been working on.
Obviously I'm an Aboriginal woman and saltwater woman, and I've wanted to tell stories for a long time. I do a good yarn up in conversation and tell lots of different stories, and but I've wanted to write about my experiences as not only as an Aboriginal woman, but also a woman who identifies as a lesbian as well. And in particular, I wanted to share and explore my story around homophobia.
Great, thank you. So Rowena, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work and publications?
Yeah, thanks, Judi, and thanks, Tab. I'd like to acknowledge and pay my respects to the elders of the Darawal Nation, which is where I live and work. And I'd also like to thank the South Coast Writers Centre for this mentorship, because I've learnt so much and I've enjoyed it so much, and it's such a great way to work with a writer. I've published 2 books of non-fiction. One was about an East Timorese church leader, which I researched in the 90s when East Timor was occupied. So that was hard to get in there and hard to research someone who was outspoken about human rights abuses and who wanted self-determination for their country. And the second one came out this year, and it's about dingoes on Gari, Fraser Island, which of course has a really important Indigenous story as well. I've also published some memoir and essays, which, like Tab's work, draw on personal experiences, but also have bigger reverberations with life in our times and social history.
Thank you. So Tab, what motivated you to apply for the mentorship?
Well, I think it was a personal thing to push myself into outside of my comfort zone and try something new. And I thought that it might assist me in planting the seed to growth around doing some written creative work. I have been involved in other creative work in a past life, primarily painting, and so this opportunity, I read about it and then I put it down, and I read about it and put it down, and then I just decided to do it. And the motivation really is because I think regardless of whether or not I ever publish a book, the experience of learning something new is important to me as developing as a person. And, you know, it's been, you know, meeting Rowena and meeting yourself, you know, I'm meeting new people. I'm learning from other people, regardless of whether or not I become a fully fledged writer. The motivation is to always improve myself. And I guess the motivation is I'd like to be a writer, and I'd like to tell stories, tell my stories, because I have a few of them.
And you obviously enjoy the writing process, or you wouldn't be, you know, you wouldn't be doing it.
No. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm an unusual being, although I like cramming. So a lot of the words that I put down in the writing that needed to get to Rowena, that was the first, second, or third installment, I did in a very fast-paced action few days, because of course I'm working full-time as well. So, but I love that. It seems to, for some reason, I don't know if I'm abnormal or other people like that pressure, but it seems to force me to work harder and really be really intense about it all and get it out.
Yeah, I can actually relate to that. I definitely work better with deadlines.
Yeah.
And Rowena, what did you find most interesting or exciting about engaging about Tab's project from the beginning?
Oh, well, it's interesting what you say, Tab, because it's the energy that I find really compelling. And you combine this energy, this flow of the story, with a really strong grasp of the social issues that are coming to bear on the story. So the first scene I read was about casual homophobia in the supermarket on Christmas Eve. And you create this really seemingly ordinary scene. You know, you're hot and tired from assembling the trampoline and you're rushing to get ready for Christmas Day. But what you bring to it sort of teases out so much of the bigger dimensions to this callous comment by someone working in the supermarket. And you have this really gritty lived experience, but you sort of open it up to the reverberations, the social reverberations, and you write with this clarity of thought and also with this beautiful sensuality. So it's all these wonderful things that combine to make it so compelling.
That's great. I should say for the viewers, Rowena's having some trouble with Rowena's freezing from time to time, but we decided to go ahead and just battle on. Tab, what's the most valuable writing related skill you've taken away from the mentorship?
I think first and foremost, Rowena's been so encouraging. I found, I must admit, to be honest, at first when you allocated Rowena to be my mentor, I kind of froze and went, oh shit, she's an academic. I'm going to be in really big trouble with my writing now because, you know, let's just say I'm a little bit behind the ball. I have to edit things about 5 million times, even if I'm writing a brief at work, because, you know, punctuation and all of those things are not perfect. So I think that the most valuable thing I learned was, first of all, just to trust that the universe or God or whoever has allocated me Rowena for a reason, and not to be frightened of her and just to write. The second thing was that she's taught me to just do that, just to write. And I had the courage enough to say to her that I found when I got the installments back and I'm reading through and seeing red everywhere and comments here and marks there, I was like, oh my God, I can't do it. And I was frightened that my perfectionism, which I am understanding more as I get older, would limit me and I would throw the towel in basically. And instead I was just honest and shared that with her, and she just said, write. So the first valuable thing is just to write. And then the second thing was, I think one of the things that obviously I've got a long way to go, but I think the other valuable thing that Rowena has given me, well, actually there were two other things I thought of. One, the first being that how to create a scene, how to be descriptive in your writing, to tease out a little bit more around those scenes. And that I'm a person that thinks in pictures. Most blackfellas do. And so as soon as she said the word scene, it felt like that my scenes and my story, I could lean into more and perhaps try and tease out more description from my own scenes, and not to be afraid of what I'm seeing. So my scene and how I interpret that into my writing. I think the other thing too, I was thinking about this when I was having a shower this morning, is that Rowena has, as you have too, Judi, instilled in me. I've been through a different time in the last couple of years, and I don't have a lot of trust. And so Rowena has shown me that there are nice human beings in the world, and same with yourself, Judi, that you can meet complete strangers who aren't psychopaths, and they're really nice. So, that's been valuable for me, to lean into trusting other human beings that you don't really know. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I really relate to the advice to just write. It resonates because I did a honours in English lit a million years ago at Sydney Uni, and my supervisor for my thesis was David Malouf, who was, just a young tutor then. And I can remember, and like you, I'm a perfectionist, and I couldn't start writing because it wouldn't be perfect. And I'd go and have these meetings with him, and finally David said to me, and I'm paraphrasing probably, for Christ's sake, write, Judi, just write anything. And it's taken me decades since then to actually realise that he was right. Yeah. And I say, well, it worked for him. Yeah. And Rowena, can you talk about any connections that you discovered between Tabatha and yourself during the mentorship?
Yeah, well, we're around the same age. I'm a bit older than Tab. So a lot of the technology and frustrations from our teenage years are similar, the phone on the wall in the room that everybody in the whole household needed to use, and the lack of privacy you have as a teenager, the difficulty you have when you want your freedom. We've both broken down in old cars. Tab writes about the song Endless Love, which I remember from my teenage years. I lived at a school in Canada, and my roommate from the Bahamas played that song a lot in the room. Yeah, so it was very relaxing, actually, to listen to. And I listened to it again after I'd read Tab's writing about it. And I think it's aged really well, actually. I think, Lionel Richie and Diana Ross apparently recorded it really quickly, and because they had a lot of other commitments, but they are consummate professionals and they did a great job. We both love the sea, and we both love the South Coast. So I have an ancestor who was born on the South Coast who I don't think was Indigenous, but, so we've discovered a few things along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Lovely. And Tab, what new or improved personal strengths have you taken away from the mentorship?
Well, to be honest, I think my personal strength is that it's okay for me to be a lesbian, and it's okay for me to be an Aboriginal lesbian. And that to believe in my own stories, really. It's kind of, I have such a complex history, and often my own stories are hard to believe, believe it or not. And yeah, so I think, to believe in my own stories is probably important, because sometimes we can question our own historical data and wonder whether or not that's true within our minds or within our emotions. I write about a lot of trauma. I've written about a lot of trauma through the mentorship, and my strength has been in that, to stay with it and to allow the trauma to come out and cry, reach out for support with friends and professionals, in fact, but also to that I'm okay, who I am. I'm okay. As a lesbian and as an Aboriginal woman, I work in an Aboriginal team. I work in the area of protecting and caring about Aboriginal culture and heritage. And in fact, to be honest, I would say that this mentorship has given me back some of my personal courage and assertiveness within the workplace as well, to be honest. And it's also helped me read more, get down to detail in some of the reports that I have to read. So, yeah, so many things, and it's been a blessing, and I really appreciate South Coast Writers for giving me the opportunity, because just in that in itself, if that's my takeaway from the mentorship, then I'm definitely a winner.
That's great. I think it's a win-win situation, actually. And Rowena, as a teacher myself, I always learned from my students. I always thought I got more than I gave. Would you like to talk about anything you've taken away from your experience of working with Tab?
Oh, yeah. Well, from Tab, I've learned, a lot about hard work and discipline. She's working full time and she's got stuff going on. She's produced drafts on time every time. I've learned a lot from how she's constructing her story, what to put in, what to leave out, how she maintains that narrative energy, which is so electric. And that's hard work. It's also hard work emotionally to go back to those parts of your life, your teenage years and your early 20s. And Tab's been really methodical about going back and recreating those scenes and bringing this depth of wisdom to them. As a mentor, I don't want to get in the way. So I've worked as a book editor for a long time, and as Tab said, I've done some academic work. So I could get bogged down in punctuation and spelling and that kind of stuff, but the story's more important. And I just wanted to learn how to help Tab get it down and keep going. There's time to attend to the details later. I've learned a lot from Tab, just a person in the world, being open and being really courageous. And I've also, from Tab's writing, I've just learned more about how destructive homophobia is. I mean, there's stuff you can know intellectually, but Tab's writing brings it home in a really direct and sort of good-humoured, visceral way, that, homosexual people don't walk around afraid of being judged all the time, So I really respect how Tab knows what this story is about. She's been living it and thinking about it for a long time. So, yeah, I feel like I've taken away a great deal. I hope I've been able to give just a little bit of something back.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that. Yeah. Tab, what are your plans for the project now that the mentorship's concluded?
Well, to be honest, Judi, I did have a meltdown about a week after my third instalment. I went, oh shit, now what am I going to do? Because as we discussed earlier, I'm a person that probably performs better when I have someone writing me, or someone who's got, like I'll tell project managers at work, don't be afraid to chase me if I haven't delivered something, because then I will deliver it. I'm not saying that I have to wait for someone to chase me, because I still have my own motivation, of course, and discipline. However, I think the thing is that I want to keep writing, but I guess for me, I feel like I'll have to look for a mentor or other mentoring programs, and someone to assist me with editing and all those sort of things, and to keep me on the straight and narrow, because I do feel that if we can, I say we, it's probably because there's so many characters in my book, but I do feel that the story could help people if it ever got published. on so many different levels. And so to find the courage to also do writing courses, I think is paramount for me. Learned how to, create my writing better. And so, yeah, that's the kind of plan, to keep going and not give up, really.
Yeah, that would be a shame. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rowena, what advice can you give to Tab for moving on with the project now?
Oh, keep going, please, Tab. Please keep going. Please be proud of what you've gotten done so far. It's amazing. And your work is amazing and necessary. I mean, your perspective's unique, but it's part of this bigger story and people need to know about it. I think a lot of people, it will help a lot of people. I think your writing will help a lot of people. And be generous to yourself, because you're being generous with other people, and be kind to yourself. Go where the energy is, write what you've got the energy for, and keep thinking about it, the questions and the paradoxes, and the opportunities will come. There's online things, there are mentorships, keep your hand in, just keep going. I'm looking forward to reading more of it in whatever.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to hearing a short piece now. Would you like to read, Tab?
Yes, all right. The Gays Stole Our Rainbow, Christmas Eve 2018. My partner Sally and I were tired, frazzled and hot. We had just spent hours wrestling the construction of a trampoline. For months we'd been keeping an eye on a particular one to buy for our little one, Hayley, for Christmas. Yet our busy lives had not enabled us to get into store to buy it until Christmas Eve. And when we finally did, the trampoline we wanted was sold out. If we wanted to buy one to be ready for Christmas Day, we had to spend a couple of $100s more. Jesus, Tab, what are we going to do now? You promised a trampoline from Santa. I could hear the stress in my partner's voice. In my head, I was calculating the money. I checked my banking app and I was trying to stay confident, calm and in control. Whatever it cost, I thought, I'll make sure the little one has a trampoline. Christmas always seems to highlight all the issues in family and relationships. We are struggling. Our communication was poor leading up to Christmas. Our relationship was in trouble, yet we weren't talking about it. We were tired, we were hot, we were always digressing from what we really needed to talk about. The stress of money, study, work and Christmas was making us feel rushed and overwhelmed. Assembling a trampoline together in the heat of the day in this situation was always going to be hard. All those springs you have to attach, my hands were killing me. They were sweaty and slipping. I was losing my strength, stretching and pulling springs. We were both tense, but I was quietly determined to finish the job. I really wanted to see how happy the little one would be when she saw her trampoline. My hands could bleed for all I cared. I'd keep going all night if I had to. Nothing would stop me from making our little girl smile. The sweat was pouring off us. Yet in another strange turn of events, under pressure, we were communicating really well. We were both sharing the load. We were slowly starting to see the manifestation of what looked like a trampoline. Well, at the very least, it was round and had some spring in it. Hours later, it was finished, padding on, safety netting attached. Bloody hell, this trampoline is huge. We started laughing, high-fived each other. We did it. We knew how excited the little one would be. We couldn't wait to see her big, excited smile on Christmas Day. After a coffee and a smoko break, we decided to make a last-minute dash to the grocery store to buy dips and chips and anything that catches our eye. We are blessed that our local Woolworths is only a 5-minute sprint in a car. Entering a grocery store on Christmas Eve is perhaps not something I'm looking forward to. I'm starting to imagine hordes of people, shopping trolleys overflowing with excess food and last-minute bonbons. Yet time has again eluded us and we are so unorganised, we have to do everything last minute and in a hurry. As I'm driving to the store, I'm thinking, how does this happen? Christmas seems to suddenly appear every year. I can honestly say that I'm a bit of a Christmas Grinch. When my partner and I first got together in 2016, Hayley was only 5 years old. I can honestly say that this was probably the best Christmas of my life, seeing how magical the experience of decorating a Christmas tree, the laughter, the excitement on her face as she pulls out tinsel and ornaments, just magical. I can say this experience assisted me to be more open and relaxed in enjoying the experience of Christmas. We pull up and we walk swiftly into the store. To my surprise, it's not that busy. Christmas carols are blaring through the speakers. Last-minute Christmas puddings are on sale, and I start fantasizing about lying down and crawling into bed, snuggling up to my partner. This is the last chore of the day, and we are exhausted. As we make our way down the chilled section, I enjoy the feeling of the cool air floating over my body. I've been hot all day wrestling with the trampoline. We reach past the shop assistant stacking shelves. Sorry, I say, I just need to grab a few of the dips. As she moves aside, we make idle chatter about Christmas and Santa coming tomorrow and Christmas lights. Both my partner and I are quick-witted, articulate and friendly and can easily engage in idle chat. The shop assistant looks tired, uninterested. She's tall and thin with a dishevelled look. Her hair is blonde grey and her skin looks pale grey, and in my head I'm thinking she looks like a smoker. Her uniform looks too tired, black pants losing that deep black colour, and her white blouse is crinkled and her name badge is on crooked. Then boom, out of nowhere, the shop assistant said, well, at least we still have Christmas because the gays have stolen our rainbow. And that's it from me.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you. That is, Rowena, I totally agree with you. Tab's writing is so physical, visceral, so detailed, and you're right there. You're a great scene maker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also like anybody's Christmas. There are so many details in there that everybody can relate to something in that scene, especially the beginning.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
And it's fantastic to hear you read it, Tab. I love that, to hear your voice reading that scene. That's such a treat, you know. It's really nice. Because of course you get different inflections from it, and the different pace of your voice over the scene. It's really, yeah, what a gift.
Yes.
Well, I have to be honest that Rowena knows this, but Judi doesn't know. I have an older friend. She's almost 70 now, and she's very. She's been with me all the way, and she rings me up and says, "Got any more of your story to read me?" and so she does her ironing and listens to my story, and she said, "Oh, it's almost like I've got my own private audio book." But her feedback was very similar to what you just said. She felt like that she said, if I close my eyes, Tab, when you're reading, I feel like I'm in the scene with you. Yeah. So that sort of gave me a little bit confidence to keep going.
Yeah. And I loved your comment before, and can relate to that about blackfellas writing with our eyes. So, yeah. Really hope that you'll consider submitting a piece for next year's South Coast Writers Centre anthology. So I'll be hounding you about that.
Okay.
So I want to thank you both for joining me today to talk about your experiences of the mentoring program. Tab, we welcome you and also Sharon into the Nagana Baranggarai Black Wallaby community. And hopefully you'll meet Auntie Barb Nicholson when...
you know, to be honest, I met Auntie Barb Nicholson probably 20 years or more ago. So she may or may not remember my little face, but I'm sure we've both aged a bit since then. But I have met Auntie Barb personally many years ago. So that would be a real honour if I got to meet her again. Yeah,
well, you definitely will. Yes. Yeah. And we also welcome you to the broader South Coast Writers Centre community too, of course. And as part of wrapping up your mentorship, we're offering you and also Sharon a complimentary 12-month membership of South Coast Writers Centre. And that entitles you to, among other benefits, discount at South Coast Writer Centre events, and access to the various writing groups. So, I mean, you were saying before about, you know, sometimes needing a prompt. I personally believe that being part of a writing community is, you know, gives you that sort of motivation. I've really enjoyed working on this program and meeting all of you, the mentees and mentors. I'm really looking forward to hearing that you've finished your project and that you're getting it out into the world. We'll definitely stay in touch. And yeah, so thank you both, Tab and Rowena. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you very much to the South Coast Writers group, and thank you so much to Rowena, and it's been a real honour to participate, and hopefully I'll see you when I'm looking at you again.
Well, maybe we won't need technology next time, you know, like that.
Yeah.
Oh, the Zoom. Thank you, Tab, and thank you, Judi, and thank South Coast Writer Centre.
Thank you.